Okay, so welcome to the show. Thanks for coming today.
Happy to be here.
So I want to talk about your Iboga and Ayahuasca experiences, but before we do that, can you share a little bit about your background, your spiritual awakening story, and also your massively successful brand KANHA?
Oh, that's 10 minutes of conversation right there. Actually, where I am today with the brand KANHA as a cannabis brand, right? And our success really is a life's journey. Actually, everything that I've done in my life actually led me to this, and that's why it's an exciting thing for me to talk about, because all my spiritual journeys kind of led up to this as well, and my passion for plant medicine. So let me just start actually. So I went to Stanford with my current business partner many moons ago.
Amazing.
Studied engineering, but in my 30s I got very interested in nutrition. And so because of my passion for nutrition, I learned a lot about plants and the plant medicine and the healing power of plants. And that's when I began to really start to learn about, how these psychedelics and these plant medicines can actually, change people's lives. And so I became very interested in that. And then in my 40s, I had kind of a life-changing moment. And I was kind of led into this new path of I guess you'd call it a spiritual awakening. And I spent 2 years traveling around the world on this, what I call the spiritual journey, kind of learning and experiencing and, connecting with consciousness to be, the person that I am today. And actually that led me to starting the cannabis company, 11 years ago.
Wow.
And so, my studies, my interest in nutrition, my interest in plant medicines. I had a CPG company where we were one of the first companies to sell acai.
Oh, really?
Berry,
I
yeah,
love
in the
acai.
US.
I almost started an acai business in college.
Oh, nice. Yes. I mean,
Yeah.
I love acai. I still eat it today. Yes. In 2003, 2004, we were one of the earliest brands. We launched it in New York. And so we got that into Whole Foods. So I had that CPG experience as well.
Cool.
So all of that, and then I have a tech background. So all of that kind of led to wanting to start a plant medicine company 10 or 11 years ago. And so that's how we got here. And KANHA, which is our flagship brand, right, is one of the largest edible companies in the country. And we've gone global in the last 3 years. We've launched in Thailand, and now we're launching in Europe. We're selling in multiple states. So it's really a passion project, and it's really, like I said, it was birthed out of the fact that of all my life's experiences, and I feel like I'm doing the right thing today, and I'm very excited about it. So
amazing. I love to hear that.
Yeah.
So you went from engineering to nutrition to plant medicine.
Yes.
That's a journey.
It is definitely a journey.
So what was the first psychedelic experience you had?
So definitely in college, definitely was playing with psilocybin and mushrooms, right, and did that whole thing, and that started the process of kind of connecting me with the power of what these plant medicines can do. But that was all fully recreational. And it was really in my early 30s when I had a very interesting girlfriend who was very spiritual and very connected. And she started, pushing me to pay a little more attention to kind of the plant medicines. And that was about the same time that I was, doing the nutrition studies and all that. So she also helped me understand that I wasn't very in touch with my feminine side, right? And I was very much, kind of engineering and science and kind of math, right? And I needed to be more focused on, kind of right brain stuff. And so we started reading books together and started, studying more about kind of philosophical concepts and spirituality and all of that. And I also went through kind of a huge meltdown at that time frame. And so I began to just think about life a little bit differently.
I see.
Yeah.
So was there a moment when you went through a spiritual awakening, or was it like a slow process?
I think for me, it was a slow process. Yeah. I think, part of it was, a tough breakup with her actually in my mid 30s, where I kind of learned about some new things about myself. I mean, I think a lot of guys, shift from their 20s into their 30s and they don't really think about, how to connect more with the universe or with other people. They just kind of, driving full speed ahead and having
That's
a
so
blast,
true.
right? And something happens that is like, whoa, hey, the universe kind of hits you with a bat upside the head and says, hey, pay attention. You're not focused on the right things.
Yeah.
And that did happen. And I would say that breakup with her, which, took fully about a year, was part of that journey. We also had experienced Burning Man for the first time together.
Oh, wow.
And that was and we did it 2 years together, which was interesting even after we'd broken up, which is kind of interesting. But that was also a revelation for me, right? It was just part of this. It was part of this then. It was the first step in this shift of trying to understand that there's more to life than just, science and engineering, and there's more of a connection and the universe and all of that. And there's just more to pay attention to. And so actually, today I often talk about pinholes of opportunity. I'll take a little aside here. And I tell people that in my life, I was running 1,000,000 miles an hour. I felt like I could conquer anything. And I was missing a lot of signs that I was bypassing. Yeah. And now I realize that when you look around and you're going through life, you might see this little pinhole of light shining from some wall far away, and you're like, what is that? And usually you might not pay attention to it. But if you actually go through and you look through that pinhole, there's a whole nother universe there that will open up to you that you can pay attention to. And I tell people to pay attention to the pinholes of opportunity, because you need to take sharp right hand or left hand turns in life. And so that in my 30s, that started to happen. Right. And so that's why in my 40s, when I went on this journey, that was actually kind of the culmination of that path. Does that make sense?
Makes sense. It was almost preparing you in a way for like a massive change.
It was. Yeah. And so, interestingly enough, in my 40s, I had another breakup and another kind of big life shift that happened. I was struggling with some business, and I had some, had shoulder surgery, and the universe just tells you when you got to pay attention, right?
Yeah.
And that was a moment for me, and so that shift led me, that moment actually is what drove me to take this 2-year trip around the world and really focus on connection and the universe and consciousness and all of that. And we can get into that.
Cool. So what did you do first, ayahuasca or Ibogaine or Iboga?
Yeah. So ayahuasca definitely was the first real plant medicine that I'd done. I had done a little bit with mushrooms over the years, right? For sure, and done different ceremonies with the Burning Man community and some of that, but didn't really go as deep as I did later in life.
Yeah.
So the first ayahuasca journey actually happened deep in the Ecuadorian Amazon jungle. Cool. In my mid 40s, right after that kind of second meltdown in life. So
breakups are the best catalyst for growth. I always say they're so painful, but on the other side of it, you're going to be a completely different person.
It's really true. It's really true. And I've had plenty, right? And I do realize that, we change in life, and, sometimes we ebb and flow, and sometimes we drift apart, and, and you're supposed to have these people in your life, and they teach you all kinds of amazing things, and you better pay attention. That's what
you don't want to learn the same lesson over and over again.
Yeah. I actually tell people that half of who I am today is really all the amazing women I've had in my life.
I love that.
It's really true. They've been
cool.
Incredibly influential, and I have a lot of appreciation and gratitude for what they've taught me. It's been monumental. But so let me get into this, actually, if you want to hear about it.
Yes, I love talking about ayahuasca. It's my favorite topic.
Yeah, super interesting. So so this is pretty cool. So after my breakup in my early 40s, I met a gal named Nancy who was a healer, right? And she was studying at the Barbara Brennan School of Healing in Florida, which is a 3-year program, and it's very intensive. And she had been living at the Omega Institute, which is kind of like Esalen, which is a big institute on the West Coast for spiritual consciousness studies. So Omega's on the East Coast in Woodstock, New York. They were having a conference in New York. And I went to this, and she said, let's go to this conference together and see who you can meet. And I was open to anything at that moment in my life. I was very down, and I just needed something. I needed something to lift me up and kind of, connect me a little bit more. So went to the conference, and she introduced me to a guy named John Perkins, who had written a book called Confessions of an Economic Hitman, which was a very popular book at those days in that community. And I said, and he was on the board of directors of an organization called Pachamama Alliance out of San Francisco, which were very connected with this tribe in Ecuador called the Ashwar. So I said to him, I said, look, I feel Mother Ayahuasca is calling me. I need to do an ayahuasca journey. What do you recommend? He said, I have the perfect thing for you. We're doing a trip down to the Ecuadorian jungle like 3 months from now. You should join us on the trip. You can do the ayahuasca journey in the jungle, deep in the jungle itself, with a traditional shaman and all of that. And I said, sign me up. So
it always finds you, I swear, when you're ready, right?
It totally does. And I always tell people, like, don't seek out ayahuasca. Ayahuasca, the mother will seek you out. She'll let you know when the time is right.
Yeah.
So interestingly enough, I shook his hand. I said, I'm in. This sounds amazing, right? Little did I know how amazing actually it was going to be, right? So then at that same conference, I walked into a session of about 200 people with James Van Praagh. Now, James Van Praagh is a very well-known psychic. He did the television show Ghost Whisperers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So there was only one seat left in that audience. I sat in it, right? And he started up and he started pointing to different people in the audience and said, well, I'm hearing a message from your grandmother. She passed away, 6 months ago, blah, blah, blah. I started, talking to people, and next thing you know, people were in tears, and, it was super connected with them. And then he pointed at me. He said, you. I said, me? He said, yes. He goes, you're about to go on some trip.
Oh my God.
What is that trip? He said, it's very, very important. And I said, yes, I just made the decision to go on a big trip to the Amazon jungle to do ayahuasca for the first time like 3 hours ago.
3 hours ago. Yep. Dang.
And he said, go on that trip. It will change your life. In front of like 200 people. And they all looked at me. It was like crazy, right? And so I was like, okay, yes, sir. Right? So long story short, went on the trip and was flown, spent some time in Ecuador for the trip. We were there for about three and a half weeks, something like that. Worked with a Quechuan shaman, did some experiences with him, and then also flew deep into the Amazon jungle to go meet the Ashwar tribe, which are literally hundreds and hundreds of miles from any kind of civilization.
Wow.
And that is where we did the first ayahuasca journey, right? So it was the whole thing is really incredible, to be honest.
I agree.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah. It's not just about the ayahuasca. I feel like these plant medicines, the more you can do them in their traditional setting,
I agree,
the more powerful that they can become. Right. And I know it's really hard, and there's a lot of, it's very difficult to fly down into the Amazon jungle to meet these shamans, right? And even if you go to Peru today, where most people go to do their ayahuasca experiences, it's very difficult to find the legitimate old school shamans from, who are now 80 or in their 80s or in their 90s.
Yeah.
Right. There's a lot of kind of fake shamans that are doing some stuff,
and that's dangerous. You have to really be picky.
You have to be very picky. You have to be very careful, because people have had bad experiences. They've had a lot of dark energy that has been passed into them during the sessions, ceremonies. So you do have to be very careful. The good news is that a lot of these spiritual communities that exist in the U.S., in the Bay Area and here in Los Angeles, are bringing up a lot of these shamans out of the jungle, and they're doing ceremonies here in the U.S.
Yeah, I've heard about some of those. Have you done that here too?
I have not, actually. I have not. All my ayahuasca experiences have actually been in the jungle.
That's cool.
Which for me is it's just what I wanted to do. Yeah.
So tell
So
us about your first experience.
yeah,
I want to
yeah.
hear about
So
it.
we were living for about 10 days with with the Ashwar tribe deep in the Amazon jungle. We just got dropped in there. They in a tiny little plane. They just landed and dropped about 15 of us in there. They only allow 3 or 4 groups of people from Pachamama to come in every year. Very small groups of 10 to 15 people, and this tribe was only discovered in the early 80s because they did not want to be connected to the outside world at all. And so what happened was they're a dream culture. They live by their dreams. So they wake up every morning and they do a purging ceremony, and then they talk about their dreams and they plan their day based on the dreams of the community.
Really? I've never
Yeah.
heard of that.
Yeah, it's super
Interesting.
cool. Yeah, so they decide. So when I was there, for example, we woke up one morning and one of the tribe people, he had a dream that he broke his blow dart gun because they hunt with big 10-foot blow dart guns, right? And they hunt monkeys and birds and all kinds of stuff. And so they said, "Oh, that's a bad sign. No, we won't go hunting today." Right? We're not gonna. They changed their plans to go hunting because he had this dream about breaking his blow dart gun. So, anyway, lived with them. Saw their way of life. They started allowing in the 80s and pretty much more in the 90s. They started letting small groups of people come in to see their culture because they wanted to teach the Western world about how they live their lives, so we can live more in harmony with how they live their lives, right? And so we were really there to understand what they were doing, and then the coup de grace was the ayahuasca ceremony at the very end. But we saw how they lived their lives. We slept in the dirt, right, and in open huts, and taught us how to hunt and taught us how to make these
wow, you learned how to hunt when you were there?
Yeah,
Whoa,
totally, with
that
these
is
blow
cool.
dart guns. Yes,
That's a wild
I was not
adventure.
very good, by the way.
That's pretty fun though.
It was fun. So let me tell you before we get to the ayahuasca, this is really an amazing part of the story.
It's interesting.
So one day we were there, and it rains in the jungle all the time, right? So one day we were there, and there was a beautiful rainbow kind of at the end of the day. And the next day we were supposed to go to a different village and go do an ayahuasca ceremony. Well, when the rainbow occurred, all of those of us from the Western world all were like, "Oh my God, look at that beautiful rainbow." But all the tribes people were freaking out.
Really?
They're like, "Oh my God," because rainbows for them were a sign of danger.
Interesting.
Yeah, they were a sign that the gods are like, or the spirits were like, giving them a message. So they were free. So we woke up the next day and we packed all of our stuff, and we were supposed to then go about a couple miles outside the village and go see their main spiritual center, which is their little, which is by a waterfall. This is all huts and, in the dirt and everything, right? So, and then we were supposed to hike like 6 hours to another village where we're going to do the ayahuasca ceremony. When we arrived at the waterfall, we were all there, and all of a sudden the tribes people were like totally freaking out. They were all running around, talking to each other in their local Ashwar dialect, and we didn't know what was going on until they finally let us know. And their most sacred place was this waterfall and the spirit of the waterfall. And there was a cave that was under the waterfall where we were supposed to have a little tobacco ceremony underneath the waterfall. Well, somehow, since they had been there a couple days earlier, the whole thing had collapsed. Oh. Yeah, the whole cave area, the whole thing had, like, the waterfall had totally collapsed. And so their sacred center had completely been destroyed, and they blamed it on the rainbow that happened the day before, right?
Well, they weren't wrong.
They weren't wrong. And then they said there's some kind of very strong energy here that came into our village, and we think that you guys brought this energy, and they were very upset with us, right? And so we had a little ceremony there, and we then went on our way. But they were not happy that we had brought some sort of negative or dark energy or something, some powerful energy into their village. So anyway, we hiked in 5 hours later, And we get to this other village, and the ceremony was supposed to start at 7:00. We got there around 5:00, and the sun sets around 6:00. So we were all kind of resting and just chilling out. We were all sleeping on banana leaves with the mosquito nets in this hut, in the same hut where we're going to do the ayahuasca ceremony. So, and then right on the nose at 7:00 when we were supposed to start our ceremony, the most wicked, powerful rainstorm, jungle rainstorm you've ever imagined in your entire life comes in, just right. And there's no walls, right? You're in the dirt, right? There's no way to get. I mean, you're protected from the rain because you're under palm leaves, but you don't want. But ayahuasca is intense, right? You have gut issues, and you might throw up, and you don't want to be wandering on the mud when you're not feeling well. Yeah. So they said, let's see if the rain, let's postpone it by 2 hours and see if the rain comes down to 9:00. I interpreted that as Mother Ayahuasca saying, hey, I'm here. You guys are about to have an amazing ceremony.
Yeah, right? You're being so optimistic.
Exactly, right? And so then at 9:00 it calmed down a little bit. It was still sprinkly, but we started the ceremony, and we were all sitting in the dirt, and the shaman, they sing their songs, right? He pours the ayahuasca into the cup. He sings his songs into the cup and connects with Mother Ayahuasca, and then blows her energy into the cup, and then he passes it, one person at a time. Each person gets their cup, right? So I was the second to the last person. So it took like a half hour before I actually got my cup, right? And of course, everybody's nervous, and you're kind of wondering what's going to happen, right? And I got my cup and I drank it, and handed it back, and then waited, and people started having their visions and stuff like that, but nothing happened to me. I waited like an hour and a half, like nothing happened. And so the guide came over and said, hey, how you doing? And I said, I'm not really feeling anything. I don't know if I have a high tolerance or what's going on. He said, well, just get another cup. So I said, so I said, okay. So I drank another cup and waited. Nothing happened. And now I'm like, oh my God, what's going on? So other people started kind of wandering off and going back to to lay down, just chill out, do their own little thing because they were having their experiences. And so then he gave myself and this other guy the third cup, right? And that's when everything happened.
That's a lot of ayahuasca.
That's a lot of ayahuasca, right? So there was this one other guy, and he was that came on the trip with us, and he was an amazing Spanish guitarist. Just, cool. Really beautiful, beautiful music. And so he took his third cup, I took my cup, he sat in a chair and he started playing Spanish guitar. Just beautiful. And it was just like flowing out through the jungle. And I sat in front of him about as far away as we are. And all of a sudden I'm looking at him, and all of a sudden the notes started flowing off of the guitar as he was playing them and floating right past me.
Cool.
And it was so trippy and so cool that just to see, like, just be able to connect with the music that way. Like, I love music and all that. And so long story short, I had an amazing experience. I got to meet Mother, who I learned later was Mother Ayahuasca.
In your first ceremony you did?
In my very first ceremony. Yeah, she came to me in a very beautiful way. And I didn't even realize who that was until the next day, until I talked to the shaman. So I feel very fortunate to actually have had that experience. Yeah.
What was that like, meeting Mother Ayahuasca?
So after I was, I started going deeper into it and started seeing jungle visions and all of that. And so the guide said, oh, go back to your sleeping bag and just lay down and just have your experience for the rest of the night. And so I did. And whether my eyes were open or my eyes were closed, I could still see everything around me. It was the strangest thing. Everything was still the same. And at one point, all of a sudden, through the jungle foliage, the most beautiful woman I've ever seen in my entire life showed up. And she was very indigenous looking, just stunningly beautiful. And what really struck me was that it was pure beauty. Like, I had no sexual connection with her whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
The beauty wasn't sexual. It was just pure beauty. Like I was really captivated by just the beauty of it. And that was really very special for me, because it's rare that men, as a man, you have that feeling.
Mm-hmm.
So she kept showing up and kind of like giving me coy smiles, and I kept trying to ask her, hey, teach me something, tell me something. But she was just like, not yet. Not yet. And she just came in and out kind of all night, and just kind
She's just greeting you.
She was just greeting me. She's like, I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
Just pay attention. I'm here. Right.
Yeah.
And then there were some other women that were kind of behind her at one point, and had some other visions, jungle visions and other things.
Mm-hmm.
But then I woke up this morning and I didn't know what to make of it. Right. So we ended up sitting down with the shaman, and he started the whole group, and people were recounting what they experiences they had during ayahuasca.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where it gets crazy. So at the end, I said, hey, I saw this incredibly beautiful woman. I don't know who she was, blah, 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 blah. This is what I saw. And then that was translated into Spanish, and then Spanish into Ashwar, the local dialect, so the shaman could understand. Mm-hmm. And then he would speak back, and that got translated in multiple, back in the languages. And then in English, he said, that was Mother Ayahuasca, and you are a shaman.
Wow. Oh, you weren't expecting that.
I literally fell off the chair. Mm-hmm. It wasn't a chair. It was a piece of wood mm-hmm. that I was sitting on a bench, and I literally had a heart attack.
That's another awakening of your identity.
Yes, it was a complete mind fuck, mm-hmm. to be honest, because here I see myself as business guy, engineer.
This happened to me too.
Really?
My second ceremony, it showed me I was a shaman in different lifetimes, and I was like a model in Beverly Hills.
Oh my God.
And I was like, no, I don't think so. When they told the girls I was with, they're like, you don't want to be a shaman. I was like, I mean, it just showed me that. Yeah. Maybe in the future.
And then the question is, what did you do with that, right?
I started reading books and studying it.
Yeah.
And I really like shamanism in general. I think it's really interesting, and it worked for me. It helped me heal myself.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like becoming a shaman at this point in my life, but it's still interesting that it's a part of me in some way.
So this is so interesting to talk about this, because mm-hmm. I never saw myself as a shaman or a healer.
Yeah.
At one point I did do a Reiki 1 healing course, and mm-hmm. kind of play with that a little bit. I spent a lot of time learning about shamanism and trying to figure out if that was a path for me. And what I realized is that what I'm doing today with KANHA,
I was thinking that too.
Mm-hmm. with the plant medicine, with cannabis, mm-hmm. that is my shamanism.
Yeah.
That is me bringing the healing power of plants to the world.
That's true.
Right. Mm-hmm. And so I've been able to, that's what I've recognized. And it drives me even more, is what I learned from that experience. And by the way, from another experience mm-hmm. that confirmed the same thing. This is the path that I'm supposed to be on. And I think that's really important for all of us. You can have a full engineering mindset and be very left brain and be very focused on driving your life, but you have to pay attention to the universe and consciousness and listen to what they have to say.
I agree.
Because you can't live your life without it. Right. Mm-hmm. And the question is, how do you balance those two in your life? And I think that is a lifelong journey.
True.
Right.
But if you don't follow those signs, I don't think you'll find true fulfillment. If you're not living your purpose, you'll always feel off in life.
Yeah. You have to have that connection to the universe, whatever that means to you. Mm-hmm. Right. And I think that's been one of the single biggest lessons for me through this whole thing. It's, it doesn't sound so profound, but it's actually profound because it impacts how you live your life mm-hmm. and how you treat others, how you interact with others, who you have in your circles, right? Right? That's important.
So important.
Yeah. So for you, right, you learn that. It may take you some time, but you'll figure out mm-hmm. some way to kind of embed that in your
definitely
in your day to day. I mean, part of what you're doing here is
That's
that as
true.
well, right? You're teaching.
That's true.
Right?
And I'm doing Reiki now.
Yeah.
I have a new spot in Beverly Hills where I'm doing energy.
Oh, that's great.
On Monday I'm starting.
Very cool.
Yeah,
Very
it's
cool.
exciting.
I'll have to come get a treatment.
Yeah, definitely. For sure.
So one of the craziest things about that story is that he had been talking, he spoke for like a minute. And all I got back through the multiple translations was, you met my mother ayahuasca and you're a shaman. And I'm like, wait a minute. He said a bunch more. Like, what the hell did he say? Right? So I speak Spanish. So I ran up to the kid that was translating from Ashwar into Spanish, right, to ask him. And I said, hey, so, what else did he say? I know that he said some other things, but it didn't get translated. And he said, when he was blowing, he said he knew that you were a shaman because when he was blowing, every time he blew the power of the mother ayahuasca into your cup before you even drank it, she told him that cup was going to go to someone who is a shaman.
Oh my God, I'm getting chills. That's crazy.
It was crazy.
Cool.
It was super cool, but it was also, it's also a lot of responsibility. It's
not an easy path at all. Not at all.
No, because you're now you are responsible for other people's lives.
Yeah.
In some way, right? So do you want that responsibility? I didn't want that responsibility.
Your soul chose it on some level.
It is what it is, right? And so that took months and months and months and months to process, to be honest, maybe even years. But part of it, what I didn't tell you before, was when I was with the Quechuan shaman, 2 weeks earlier in northern Ecuador, which is a totally different part of Ecuador, doing a Quechuan shamanic experience, he told me exactly the same thing.
Oh, wow.
So I had
completely different group of people.
Completely different tribe, completely different group of people, completely different experience. And I was like, that's what really hit me. Like, wow, there's something really bizarre. Like, there's something to this. Now I have to really pay attention. Yeah. So this was kind of before I started. This was before I did my trip around the world that I was for 2 years, and just kind of, this is actually what drove me to take that trip around the world. Okay. Is because I realized, you know what, I've got to pay more attention to all this, and I got to think about this a lot more, because this is going to be impactful on my life. Yeah. So that was kind of crazy.
That is really cool, though.
Right. So that was my first ayahuasca experience. Did
you go through any really difficult emotions or experiences? Because for me, I went through my own hell my first ceremony. Like, I hated it. I wanted it to be over. I was crying. I was throwing up. I was like in this really dark place my first time. Like 50% of it. And the second half was like blissful, but the first half was horrible.
So interesting.
I completely regret doing it.
Wow. Yeah. So interesting that you had both the blissful and the hell in the same ceremony.
I know.
Usually it's not like that.
Yeah, it was. It showed me the word divine destiny. And it was like, you have like a destiny. We need to get all this darkness out of you. And my darkness was depression and anxiety. Yeah. So I was throwing it up out of my body. And then the next year, I didn't have like any anxiety or depression. So I really believe it worked.
Amazing.
But it was really uncomfortable in the process. Like it was really hard.
But the question is, would you rather have it go through that in one ceremony where it's super intense, or do you want to spend 10 years of your life struggling and trying to figure that 100%. Out? 100%. Right? Yeah.
I'd much rather go through the hard time. I mean, it's like really accelerated healing. It's amazing.
For sure. And that's what plant medicines can do. And by the way, that's also what I learned in my Iboga ceremony, but we'll talk about that in a minute. But I was actually shown how you can get to these same places, the consciousness and all that, through meditation, for example, and through other practices. But the plant medicines they're accelerators.
Yeah, it's super fast. It's uncomfortable. For me it was, but it's worth it.
I think it's totally worth it too. Right? Because I'd rather learn and get it over with, right? Yeah. And process through it more quickly than struggle for 10 years.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that was the first journey, and then that led me to do a number of other ayahuasca ceremonies, also in the jungle, with other shamans, but all very traditional. Sometimes in their own ranches or own property, like deep in the jungle, and like in Peru.
Did you do Shipibo ever? That's what I did.
No, that would be amazing. Yeah, I would love to do that. Where that was here in the?
It was in Cusco in Peru. That's the first time I did it. I did it 3 times in 1 week. And it really changed my life. For
sure.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Did you do a tobacco purging? Did they do a tobacco purging?
No, I didn't do that.
Yeah.
I would have been willing to, though.
That's intense. They make you drink a bunch of tobacco infused water, and then you vomit like crazy.
Yeah.
And you purge everything. That's like 4 hours before the ceremony.
Okay. No, I didn't do that. We did a really extreme diet, though, for like 10 days.
Yeah.
No sugar, no salt, no meat, like super like bland food.
It's like eating rice and nothing else.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. It's not much fun, is it?
Not really, but it's part of the experience.
It is part
and
of the experience.
And I did it with a group of women. It was a women's retreat, so it was kind of fun to do it together.
Yeah, for sure. And when you did your when you did the diet, did you feel like you were vomiting less? You were purging less? Or did you always purge every time?
I purged a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a pretty hard time doing ayahuasca in general.
It's not easy.
Yeah, I've done it 5 times. Only one time it was like really nice, blissful experience. The other times were pretty difficult.
Yeah.
But it's healing.
It's totally healing. I mean, I've probably done it 15 times. And out of those times, I think I've had 2 or 3 really blissful experiences. One incredibly blissful. And then, probably 5 or 6 just super intense, like crazy, powerful, like, kind of.
One thing I've noticed with ayahuasca is sometimes it will show you the future. And then like the next 6 months, things happen that were in ceremony. And it's kind of like, it like predicts what's going to happen in your life. That's happened to me a few times where I'm like, how does it know this is going to happen?
It's so crazy.
It's crazy.
Right? Yeah. So how do you interpret that?
It makes me question how much free will we really have and how much of our life is God's will versus free will. Yeah. Even this podcast was a part of my ayahuasca ceremony like almost 2 years ago.
Oh, there you go. Right.
So it's like,
yeah.
And other things that haven't happened yet that I want to happen that I've seen in ceremony, I'm like, I really hope it does happen because it showed me being like a benefactor when I'm older.
Yeah.
Like super successful. I'm like, I'll take that.
For sure. Right. But that's how you know you're on the right path.
Yeah.
And if you're on the right path, then things are falling into place and you're living a better life anyway. So I don't think it's so bad that I also agree. I don't think we have as much free will as we think we do. But I don't think it's so bad because if we're living, if you're living a good, productive life and you're enjoying it, you're doing fine.
I agree.
Right. I mean, it would be nice if we had complete free will, but the universe is very powerful.
It's true.
Right. So that was, So, I think ayahuasca is an amazing plant medicine. I think there's a lot to learn from ayahuasca. And I really appreciate all the ceremonies that I've had. And like I said, some were very intense. One of them I screamed out in the middle of the ceremony.
I did that too.
Did you?
Yeah. I screamed, I hate ayahuasca.
What? Oh my God.
I really did because it was so painful.
Wow. That is crazy.
I know.
And
it showed me that it's not for everyone because I'm the type of person I would invite like 25 people, and have them all do it, because it helped me so much. But it showed me this is not for everyone. They have to be called to it, and don't invite everyone to do this.
No, that is 100% true. Right? You have to. The mother ayahuasca has to call on you, and you just have to listen, right? It's kind of like that pinhole of opportunity I was saying, right? Yeah. You just got to pay attention so that when she whispers in a little voice, like, "Hey, it's time," that you go and you enter that world. It's totally different. Yeah.
Do you still feel called to do it?
So I'm starting to feel called today. It's my last experience, I think, was in 2012, 2011, 2012. It's been a while. I am starting to feel a little bit of a calling, actually. People are in my universe are saying, "Hey, we'd like you to take us to do ceremony, and I'm
cool.
thinking, maybe, I'm going through some stuff in
The
life
inner
too.
shaman coming out.
For sure, right?
Yeah,
exactly. And so yeah, I think it's starting to happen again. So I think I'm now seriously considering taking a group down to Tarapoto in Peru to go have ceremony with a shaman I know, 2 shamans I know that are down there.
Cool.
Yeah, you do have to be careful. And for who's ever watching this podcast, like there are a lot of fake shamans down there that we talked about earlier that you got to watch out for.
Yeah,
for sure. So anyway, so that journey, right, ended up changing my life. Ended up selling my business right around that time, and 6 months later, I was out of a job, looking for what I was going to do next, and that's when I decided to take this journey around the world that I thought was going to last 6 months, and ended up being 2 years.
Sounds fun.
Yeah, it was amazing, and it was that was what I call my spiritual journey. That was really what kind of started showing me a new path. Right?
So where did you go?
So I ended up going all around South America for the first part of it, right? And doing some ayahuasca as part of that journey. Then went to Africa, including Gabon in West Africa, and that's where I did my Iboga ceremony, right? And then I ended up going in India and spent 5 months in India, spent some time in a month and a half in an ashram in India, right? Studying under a guru in India, which was really interesting. And went to Nepal and ended up in little tiny monasteries in northern Nepal that are just right out of the movies of these ancient shamans and ancient traditions and all of that. I have some incredible videos and ceremonies that I did with them. Not plant medicine, but unless you consider rice wine a plant medicine, which they drink rice wine in the monasteries. But that was super cool to be in the up in the mountains in Nepal and kind of seeing that tradition. So a little bit more time in Asia, and then went back to South America and spent more time in South America. So that was my journey around the world. But I had been, through the Burning Man community, I had been learning about various plant medicines. There's an amazing book called Breaking Open the Head, which I read from a guy that's spent a lot of time at Burning Man, and in that book he talks about his Iboga ceremony in Gabon. And so I reached out to him and said, hey, I would love to do an Iboga ceremony in Gabon. Where should I go? So that's when he said, go check out Lambaréné. And so should we talk about the Iboga thing?
I want to hear it. I'm so excited to hear about it.
So a couple months after I did a couple other ceremonies with ayahuasca, I ended up flying to Gabon with my girlfriend at the time, who was also a healer, by the way. Very spiritual, very connected, and she wanted to participate. She didn't want to do the plant medicine, but she wanted to be there and be my sitter and help me through it and all that. It was very difficult. It was very difficult to find the tribe and find the correct experience. If you read about a lot of the experiences in Gabon, it's a very strange place. There's a lot of dark energy there. It really feels like Joseph Conrad's Heart of Darkness, which I don't know if you know.
I read
that book.
Yes. Yeah, many years ago.
Yeah, right. It feels like this strong, dark energy of Africa. It's very different than the Amazon jungle. And so we were running around Gabon trying to figure out who we could connect with there. And I met this tribe through some people that I'd met, and it did not feel good. Like it didn't feel like something that I wanted to embark on. First of all, it can be deadly if you overdose on it. Right. And so you got to be very careful with the plant medicine. And you're in the middle of the jungle. There's no doctors, there's no running water, no electricity. With this tribe, you have no idea who they are.
Brave.
Yeah. Right. It's like, what am I doing here? Right. And so I met them a couple times and I felt like this just doesn't feel right. And so I basically gave up and told Kristen, my girlfriend at the time, I said, you know what, I think we should just bail and maybe do it sometime later in life or something. Mm-hmm. But then at the last minute, one of the kids that introduced us said, no, you got to go meet these other shamans that are part of the tribe. I met them and all of a sudden everything changed. Oh, wow. And they're like, and all of a sudden I went from being 10% in, 90% out to 10% out, 90% in. And I felt much better about it. And I said, let's do it. And next thing you know, they had me in a hut and I had 5 shamans and they were bathing me and purifying me. They were painting me and putting me in a tribal outfit. Cool. And preparing me for a ceremony. And this is like, I don't know, 5 or 6 o'clock in the afternoon on a Wednesday. And then they sat me down in this hut and so Iboga is the bark of a tree. Mm-hmm. Right. And unlike ayahuasca, which is a mix of 2 different compounds, this is actually only from the Iboga plant. Right. And they cut off pieces of the bark and they basically gave me 3 big mouthfuls of the bark and said, chew on this bark and swallow it.
Wow. How did it taste?
Very bitter. Mm-hmm. And yeah, all I remember is the bitterness. Mm-hmm. And it's like eating bark. I mean, that's what you're eating, right? Eating wood. So then they walked me down into this other hut, and then the whole tribe was there, like majority of the tribe. So this tribe had about 100 people. There were probably 60 or 70 people sitting in chairs inside this open hut. Again, no electricity, it got dark at 6. They had only big candles there and kind of providing some light. Mm-hmm. And, they sat me down and my girlfriend sat next to me. And then we had a translator, a kid that we'd hired to translate into the local dialect. And I had then my main shaman, spiritual father, which they called him, next to me on the right side. And we just started talking and kind of going through it. And after like an hour or so, hour and a half, I started to get a little high, right? And said, okay, it's coming on. And then they put a mirror in front of me. Mm-hmm. And they said, okay, now you're going to stare into this mirror. I said, okay, I'll stare into the mirror. So I started staring into the mirror, and lo and behold, after that, after like, 20 minutes of it, whatever, I started looking, I saw my face, I was all painted up, and then I started looking, and then on my shoulders, these black blobs started forming on my shoulders. Mm-hmm. And they looked very real. And then they would turn into little animals, right? They would turn into like rabbits and squirrels, and they were all just kind of like climbing all over my shoulders. And then all of a sudden they ran away. And this lion formed on one of my shoulders. And the lion then crawled up the side of my neck and sat on the top of my head. And just like this, just sat looking out. And then I was then describing what I was seeing in my in the visions to Kristen, who would then tell it to the young kid who was translating into the local dialect, which is called Machogo. Right. And then when the crowd heard that there was a lion sitting on my head, they went crazy, because really? That for them was like, oh, wow, that's like the lion is the king of the jungle. Right. It's a very powerful symbol for them. So they really loved it. And along with the ceremony, they started playing what's called the Gabonese zither, which is basically this instrument, which is like a bow and then one metal string with a damper on it. It sort of plays 2 notes, and they put it in their mouth, and it just plays this very strange music that goes like, mm-hmm. Right? It's very odd. And they played it for 2 days straight, day and night. It was so crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a long ceremony.
It was a very long ceremony. So, and so basically I look in the mirror, and all of a sudden, like, these visions would form in the mirror, and then they would grow from the mirror to full screen, Like I would just be completely enveloped in them, like watching. I tell everybody it's like watching an IMAX movie. Mm-hmm. So what's interesting with ayahuasca and other psychedelics, psilocybin and all that, the visions are very animated, right? You'll see flashing things and stuff moving, and it feels like animations. It doesn't feel like real life. Iboga visions are what they call frank visions. So they're like real life. Mm-hmm. So it's like watching an IMAX movie. So you really can't tell the difference between what you're seeing in the vision and reality.
Wow.
So I would look at times. I would look over at the people, and I would see someone sitting next to someone in the crowd. But if you go to poke them, they're not there.
That is trippy. Wow.
That was really strange. And the visions would kind of overlap with reality. So that was really, so you'd see kind of animals coming in from the jungle, because this is all in the jungle as well.
Yeah.
Right. But anyway, for the first, 6 or 8 hours, you see these visions, and I was awake and I was conscious, and I could tell what visions I was seeing. Of course I was high, right? Mm-hmm. But I would describe the visions, and that would get translated, and the local tribes people would listen to them, and they'd react based on.
Were all the people on the medicine too?
No, I'm the only one.
Oh, you're the only one. Okay.
Yes. So this ceremony is a rite of passage. I was actually being initiated into their tribe.
Okay.
So
cool.
Yeah, so I was I'm a first white member of the Michogo tribe in Masamukugu, Gabon.
Amazing. Wow.
Yeah, that was pretty incredible. So and they played the Gabonese zither, and at times they would jump up and sing and dance and drum and all of that while I'm going through this whole experience. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that was the first like 6 to 8 hours. You want to hear what happens next?
Yes.
So I was starting to get a little tired, and I'm thinking to myself, I don't know, I forgot that it was kind of supposed to be a couple days ceremony, right? Mm-hmm. And so after like 8 hours of this, whatever, 7 or 8 hours, I turned to Kristen and I said, I think I'm coming down a little bit. Like I think by morning I'll be all finished with this. She said, well, that's kind of strange, because they just told me you're about to enter your trance state.
Wow.
And I said, trance state? What the fuck is that? Right? So I kind of freaked out, and I'm like, oh my God, if I haven't reached the trance state yet, I'm only in like first gear. I'm about to go into second or third gear. Mm-hmm. So she said, just, they said they just want you to kind of chill out and lay down, because I was sitting on this little stool. Just lay down and go through the experience. So, by the way, you'll hear a lot about Ibogaine. Ibogaine is a derivative of Iboga. It's still the main molecule, right? Alkaloid, mm-hmm. which causes the visions and all that. Right. And they'll do it at these clinics south of the border and in the Caribbean and Canada and all that.
Trump signed an executive order to make it legalized here for PTSD for veterans.
Can you believe that?
Deal, yeah.
Yeah, I'm so excited to hear that, because I know that this stuff can completely rewire the brain and rewire the body. Mm-hmm. It's that powerful. And I think not everybody should do it, but I think it can help so many people with so much trauma and conditions, and for soldiers with what they're going through with PTSD.
Yeah, severe addiction.
Yeah, no, it's a game changer for them. Mm-hmm. Super cool. I'm very excited.
But you didn't have anything major to heal from, right? You were called to the medicine for a different reason.
Yeah, I was called to the medicine because I wanted to change my life. Mm-hmm. Right? I wanted to connect more to the universe and be, and just have greater understanding of the bigger picture. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Makes sense.
Yeah. So that's what I was trying to accomplish. Mm-hmm. So one thing what I was to say is that when you do an Ibogaine ceremony, right, or not a ceremony, but a session, right, they put music in your ears, like light music, and they cover your eyes with an eye mask. Mm-hmm. So that's the opposite of what you should do with Iboga. And you will not read about this anywhere. I see this all over the place. So when I was in my ceremony, I was experimenting, like, what is it like if I close my eyes versus my eyes wide open, staring in the mirror or staring elsewhere, right? And when I would close my eyes, my spiritual father, who was sitting next to me, would say, no. Keep your eyes. He would say, keep your eyes. He didn't speak English, but he would point to me, keep my eyes open. Because the visions come to you when your eyes are open, not when your eyes are closed. So closing actually blunts the effect. So which is super interesting. So anyway, so I laid down and started staring at the top of the hut, and all of a sudden, my eyes wide open, and my girlfriend was sitting next to me, and there were panels of palm fronds at the top of the hut. And I would look at those panels, and all of a sudden they would turn into like a movie screen.
Weird.
And I would start to see the visions come out of the panels, and I would just watch these incredible visions of my life and my family and parents. And I saw my mom's death, which was super interesting, which ended up happening about 3 years later. And the vision that I saw, the way that I saw, was very similar to a vision to what actually happened to her. So that was really incredible for me to kind of see, because one of the things that Iboga is supposed to do for you is give you the ability to predict the future.
Oh, to predict the future. Okay. I feel like ayahuasca did that for me a little bit.
Yeah. I think all these plant medicines can that's part of that connection, right?
Yeah.
But specifically, Iboga is they'll take it to help them predict the future.
That's so cool.
Interestingly enough, the ceremony is called the Bwiti ceremony, and it comes out of the Pygmy tribe. And the Pygmies have been, beat up over the years, and so they actually use this as a way as a protection ceremony to protect them from the dark forces of Africa. So cool. Whereas ayahuasca really is there to kind of help heal.
Yeah.
Iboga really is for protection, and your ability to see the future is part of that protection. Super interesting.
That is amazing.
Right? So I was continuing to see these visions, continue to keep my eyes open, and then all of a sudden I disconnected from consciousness. So according to my girlfriend, my eyes were wide open. I kept trying to talk. I couldn't talk. I was wide awake, but I was not there.
Wow.
Right? Which was kind of freaking her out at the time, because she was like, because I disappeared for like 7 hours.
7 hours?
Yes.
Whoa.
Like for 7 hours.
So you don't remember?
So I don't remember anything outside. Everything actually then internalized. And I went to this whole new state, this trance state, which they talked about, where all of the visions were internalized. Now, here's what's amazing. I call it, the whole experience, I call it live dreaming. We all know what lucid dreaming is, right? You're you have a dream and you can kind of control it a little bit, or you can remember it, you can experience it because you're awake a little bit. This is very similar, but even before the trance, I was wide awake and I was dreaming. Like it felt like watching dreams, but I could talk about it and I could interact and I could actually flow with them, which is very strange to be able to interact with what felt like dreams. And when I went into the trance state, that was even more like dreaming, because now I was inside my head. So I went from being seeing these external visions to seeing all internal visions, and I spent 7 hours exploring my mind. Wow. So what does that mean? I learned who I was. So when you go into the trance state, this is the most mind-blowing thing. I was a conscious being before I went into the trance state, right? I was observing. I was just watching these films, these movies, right? When I went into the trance state, all the different parts of my mind disaggregated, and there is something called the I can't remember the name right now, but it's like the default mode network, which is how your brain works. And the default mode network is the network that connects all the different parts of your brain, right? You have all these different elements of your brain, and they're all trying to communicate with each other. But with the default mode network, it kind of keeps everything together, so it doesn't feel like they're separate experiences, right? It just feels like, oh, I'm hungry now, or I have this memory that just popped in. But you don't understand that it doesn't. We don't realize that comes from a totally different part of the mind. But when I went to my trance state, these pieces of my mind all separated, and now I watch them interact with each other. So now, for example, I could see what I termed back then my left brain, or my kind of engineering mind, right? My conscious mind. That's the most dominant thing, with a very loud voice, very masculine, start to yell and try to communicate with other parts of my mind. As an example, I saw this very young child, female child, like 4 or 5 years old. And she was just sitting there, and she would talk, but it was a very low voice, and she would be overpowered by this very strong, masculine voice. And I could see how they interacted with each other. And what I realized later was that was my kind of left brain conscious mind, which dominates most of my world. And this was my feminine side. This was my feminine right brain, softer side that I never really get to see. And that, by the way, this spiritual journey for me was a lot of that was trying to connect with that side of myself, right? That feminine side. So what I realized is that she was a very young, soft-spoken child, female child, but was very intuitive and very smart. We can call it my intuitive side as well, right?
Yeah.
And I got to see how they interacted, right?
Fascinating.
And I got to, and then I was shown that the way that I tap into her is through meditation, right? That if I just try to think about it and just, or through plant medicine. But if I just try to manually think about it and try to connect with her, I'm not going to hear that voice.
Yeah.
So I have to do more work to be able to listen to that intuitive side of me. So that was one of the things that I got out of it. And then I was shown, like, when you dream, I was shown how you dream and what parts of your mind, like how they interact together when you dream. I was shown that when you go into a meditative state, it's the same part of the mind that you connect with in a psychedelic journey, right? Which sounds not so profound, but it was blatant. But that was actually demonstrated to me. The amazing thing is, for years after this whole experience, I could remember almost every vision with crystal clarity.
That's cool.
With crystal clarity, like when you do an ayahuasca experience or a psilocybin experience, you can remember very, very little.
Yeah.
Right. But when you do but Iboga is different. Like, these memories are seared into your mind. Right. And I could remember them, remember these visions for years. And even today I can still, this was 18 years ago. Even today I can still see some of the visions that I had.
It's incredible.
I mean, think about what that takes to do that, and the impact on the mind to be able to do that. And that's how I know that it rewires your brain.
Yeah.
Right. It has that amount of influence. So, so that internal journey of teaching me who I am, right, and how my mind works was very, very profound for me. And then also the very aggressive, kind of masculine, conscious part of my brain. A couple times during when I was deep in the trance, I was deepest moments of the trance, said, you're going to be like this for the rest of your life. You're going to end up in a mental ward, like really crazy thoughts. Right. And then my other sides were like, no, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Now, one of the really interesting things that really is mind blowing to me is, who's the observer? if you're seeing different parts of your mind and interact with each other, who's the observer? How, like, usually it's your conscious mind, which is the observer, right? But I'm watching my conscious mind interact with my subconscious or my intuitive side. Who am I? That's one of the things I've struggled with ever since, this has been 18 years, like trying to figure out who that is.
What would you say? Your soul? Possibly.
It could be consciousness, right? That observer could be just pure consciousness, right? I hope it's that. Wouldn't that be amazing?
It would. Definitely.
Right? I mean, it just shows you that there's so much more that we don't understand. And I love that, that Ibogaine is getting credibility and helping all kinds of people now, but it's so much deeper than what you hear. And that's why I'm here talking to you, because it's way more profound than what you hear. And I think if we dig into that, it's going to be amazing. Like I've talked to neuroscientists about this. I've wanted them to study Iboga for years, because I think it will teach us a lot about sleep, about dreaming, about why we dream, about consciousness. So I'm excited to help push that envelope as we go forward.
Yeah, it's happening.
Yeah, it's definitely happening, right? And that's actually one of the reasons I'm here talking about it.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the ceremony, my spiritual father, I was so excited. I felt like $1 million. I was so excited to go tell these stories to everybody. And he said to me, which got translated to me, he said, your experience is amazing. Take it with you for the rest of your life. Call me if you ever need anything, whatever that meant.
He doesn't have a phone, right?
Doesn't have a phone, right? I have no idea.
Telepathy.
Telepathy, right? Like, it doesn't speak, he speaks Machogo and doesn't even speak French, right? Because Gabon they speak French. He spoke the local dialect. So, but probably telepathy, yeah, and if you need me, I'm here. But he said, do not tell your visions to anybody, because if you tell your visions, you will weaken all the powers that you've gained, your powers of insight and telepathy and predicting the future and all of that. So for years, I didn't tell anybody anything, or very little.
Was it hard for you?
Impossible.
I bet.
Think about it. You have some of the most profound experiences of your entire life. Your entire life.
Why do you think that is? Like, why would you not want to tell anyone that it would give away?
That's just what they believe. They've been through it. I mean, this is how they initiate everybody into their tribe.
Yeah. So
everybody goes through this when they're man or man or woman, whatever, they all get initiated with by themselves in the tribe through the plant medicine. So I think it's just through experience. I don't know. I trust them.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, but at this point, I think it's so important to share. I think that's part of my shamanism is also, helping people understand how profound this can actually be. Yeah. Right. Because we're starting to hear about it. And now I think it's time for me to kind of be vocal about it. Right. And even if it weakens me a little bit, it's worth it, because I think it will help all kinds of people.
Yeah. So what was the integration like after that when you went back?
So that was interesting. When I came out of the trance state, I couldn't talk. It took like a couple hours before I could actually communicate properly. And then it was a long, slow, just, another day and another, I don't know, 24 hours, whatever, more than that, of kind of just process, of just like slow coming down. And for me, it was, first of all, I hadn't slept in a couple days, 2 or 3 days. And yet I felt amazing. I felt better than I've ever felt in my entire life.
Really?
I felt more energized, more pure, clean-headed or pure-headed. I could remember everything with crystal clarity for my whole life, right? No words got stuck on the tip of my tongue. I I felt like Superman.
Mm-hmm.
And I had read that that was one of the things that happened after you came out of the experience. Mm-hmm. And it was very strange to go through that. But I also felt better than everybody, which was really weird. I had to actually temper that.
Really?
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I felt like people couldn't understand what I had just gone through, but I didn't even understand. Mm-hmm. Right? So I was, so it took weeks. I mean, for a couple of weeks, I was still seeing some visions, a little bit of stuff. It takes like a couple of weeks for it to fully work its way out of your system.
Really? So during the day, you were just having little visions?
Just little flashers and kind of weird things that were going on. Yeah. Yeah. It was interesting. I don't really remember much about my dreams at that point. But the book that I told you about called Breaking Open the Head, that's one of the things they call the Bwiti ceremony. And I really do feel like my head was like broken wide open and boom, I was connected to the universe. Yeah. I really feel like a lot changed for me. For example, I wouldn't dream very much, but after that I started dreaming a lot. And even to this day, like my dreams have changed completely from when I was in my 30s. Yeah,
so it really like rewired your brain.
It totally rewired my brain, 100%.
Do you feel like you were happier for a long time after that? Your mental health? Did it change?
Yes, for sure. And we did a protection ceremony with them as well, where they gave us these they made these little herbal belts for us, and told us to wear them for the rest of our lives, and we'll be protected from all negative things in life. So that was pretty cool. Mm-hmm. Again, this is about protecting you from the dark forces that exist in the universe. So I felt really positive about that. I felt like I was more protected, and I felt like I could do more than I did before. I felt like I knew a lot more. But what did it all mean? What did my visions all mean? What did it mean that I saw my mom's death? What did it mean that I saw visions of the lion, right? And I saw all kinds of other visions, and wasn't able to, like, I saw this beautiful White House, and there was a lot of flyover stuff, and I kept I'd fly over and fly down, and I'd try to get into in the back door, and I couldn't get in. Mm-hmm. It's like I wasn't supposed to get in, right? There's something in there that I need to pay attention to, but the time isn't right. Mm-hmm. Same thing when I met Mother Ayahuasca. Yeah, she was coy. So I think that it's just part of it. Just realize that this is a life's journey on helping you to understand what to pay attention to in life, mm-hmm. right? And for example, right now, like I don't meditate like I want to. My life has gotten off track, and I know it's gotten off track because I work too hard and haven't been able to connect to the spiritual side as much as I'd like to. And so I know that I need to get back to that, which is another reason that I'm thinking about doing an ayahuasca ceremony again.
Yeah.
Right?
You should.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'd love to. So that's part of it. And so I would just say that integration is, for me, it just feels like it was easy in the beginning, although I felt superior to others, and I had to temper that. Yeah. Because I felt so amazing and felt so just connected. Mm-hmm. And I felt like I had knowledge that others didn't. I felt like a magician.
I can see that.
Yeah. And I had to temper that and soften that. Mm-hmm. And then it was just like, okay, well, you're a magician, fine, but what does it mean to your life, and how are you going to live life to be a better human being? Mm-hmm. And so that's what I think I'm doing now. So I think that's one of the reasons I started this business. Is one of the reasons I work so hard, because I feel like we're bringing cannabis, which is an amazing plant medicine, to all kinds of people. Mm-hmm. Yeah, to millions of people, and it's healing them.
Yeah. So how can cannabis be a plant medicine? Because I feel like that's really misunderstood sometimes, because people think it's just a recreational drug, but it does have a spirit and a healing ability too that I think a lot of people don't see. Yeah. So what would you say about the healing abilities?
Yeah. So I think cannabis is super interesting. I think cannabis in some ways is the plant medicine, mm-hmm. right? I'll tell you why. cannabis, so Delta-9 connects with us for a reason, and it connects with most of the cells in our body, right? The THC, because we have an endocannabinoid system, and that endocannabinoid system actually mimics the Delta-9 THC. There's a reason that we've evolved to have the endocannabinoid system. It's in our DNA. Even more so than even though these psychedelics experiences are more profound, the endocannabinoid system affects our entire, all systems in our body. So it's really wired into our DNA. And so I think that has a even greater healing impact on us than even the psychedelics too.
Really interesting.
Yeah. Now, look, if people are using Ibogaine to cure themselves from PTSD, depression, addictions, that's incredible and it's profound and it happens overnight. It's an amazing thing. But cannabis, right? I think if you use it on a regular, those are not meant to be used on a regular basis. Cannabis is meant to be used on a regular basis, and I think that it has its impact on the body regularly. And so it doesn't mean you should be smoking weed all day long every day unless you want to, right? But you can eat gummies or you can take a tincture, when you're not feeling right, and it kind of balances out the body, right? So you have different cannabinoids: CBD, THC, CBG, CBN, THCV. All these different cannabinoids operate in different ways on your cells and impact your body in different ways. And I think there hasn't been a lot of research on it yet. And so in many ways, the cannabis experience is richer because you're talking about generally single molecule situation with psychedelics. But with cannabis, you have many different molecules that are all interacting in different ways with your cellular structure. And so I think that is a more complex and richer experience. And so that's why I think the cannabis can be, have even a broader impact on our bodies.
Interesting.
Yeah.
How has cannabis helped you heal?
I think that for me, I am a cannabis lightweight. Right?
Me too.
Right? It's my body's very sensitive to cannabis. So I think of cannabis, for me, I would say that I use it for pain once in a while. So if I have some pain, that helps. I've used it a little bit in the past for anxiety, although I don't seem to have too much of that. It's just once in a while, if I'm feeling a little bit, I'll use a little bit of cannabis for that. I think that I also think that cannabis, what we call is a recreational experience, which is the community experience. Like cannabis is very much about the community, about interacting, everybody, sharing the experience. Psychedelic experiences are individualized.
That's true.
I mean, you can connect and you can have shared experiences, but your experience is really in your own vortex. That's how I see it.
Yeah.
Cannabis is the plant medicine is designed by Mother Nature to connect, to keep us connected. And so I think the community aspect is very important of cannabis. And so I like to talk about that. And I think that when you talk about recreational cannabis, you could take a gummy and, help you with a little bit of back pain that you have in the morning. But then you can go out with your friends at night and smoke a joint and have a great time together and socialize as a community. And that's also healing.
That's true. I think setting the intention around any plant medicine you do is also really powerful. Like using cannabis and setting the intention, like if you want to heal or you want to connect or you just want to have fun, it's really powerful. Yeah. Like it actually works.
It does.
I learned that in the last couple of years with any type of substance. I always set the intention of what I want it to do and how I want to feel, and it's really powerful.
Give me an example.
Let me think. I took a mushroom chocolate and I wanted to see what like sides of myself were holding like myself back that I couldn't like tap into. And it did show me. It showed me like parts of myself that I wasn't seeing.
Yeah.
And then I don't really use cannabis a lot, but I did with my friends, and I just wanted to have fun and like enjoy life. And that was my intention, and then that happened.
Yeah. It's great, right?
Yeah.
And these plant medicines will teach you all kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the issues is that there is this concept that you have to do a lot of cannabis, right, to get the effects. But I don't think that's true. I think you can do very light doses of cannabis, and it will have very profound effects as well.
Mm-hmm.
So and for some of us that are very sensitive to it, even more so.
Yeah. I think so too.
Yeah. So I do just fine with psychedelics, but with cannabis, I am very sensitive, and I do have to watch the dose and be careful about it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I do think that whole sense of community and all that is very important.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So these plant medicine journeys for me have been very profound in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I think they've taught me a lot of things, but they also open a lot of doors and a lot of questions.
For sure.
And it's up to each individual to learn from the experience and what they do with it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's life-changing.
It definitely is. Did you ever have visions, or like, did you ever have the idea of KANHA when you were in those ceremonies?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so. I think that I was being led down a path, and I didn't know exactly where I was going.
Yeah.
And I think but I know what happened when the opportunity presented itself and I looked at it. It was an instantaneous, oh, I need to do that, because I knew, right? I knew. I had been thinking about it. I had been processing these experiences and these journeys, and when I got to the point that I needed of what I wanted to of being presented, I was like, oh, here it is. This is what I need to do.
Yeah.
And I think in life, it's, that's a big part of it. How many times in life do people come up to you and say, oh, you should do this, or you should do that, or you think of something, or something falls in your lap, and then you're not sure, like, oh, I don't know, maybe I should chase this. Maybe I should do this podcast.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I should go move to New York. It's easy to say no. It's hard to say yes. And I think these plant medicines will help you understand when to say yes. Yeah,
I agree.
And I think that to me is one of the most important lessons. Yeah. Now, would I love to do Iboga again? Probably. It was profound and so amazing, but it is a process. I have to. Yeah.
It's a big commitment.
It's a big commitment. It's a big commitment.
It would be really interesting to hear about your second journey, though, and what would happen now, because you're in a completely different stage of your life now.
Absolutely. And that's one of my curiosities, is that what would it teach me? Yeah. Right. I know a lot. It would probably spank me a little bit and say, hey, you need to pay more attention. You've been a little bit too much, too focused on, driving your business and all of that. You need to pay more attention to kind of the universe. But it's a good question.
Do you think Iboga was more life-changing than ayahuasca?
I think that I tell people Iboga is to ayahuasca as ayahuasca is to cannabis.
Really?
In other words, the difference between an ayahuasca journey, which is pretty intense, and an Iboga journey is a lot. Like, it's super intense. Yeah. And by the way, I didn't get sick at all on the Iboga, and the tribe thought the tribe were blown away. Really? Yeah. They had a bucket there for me, and I felt great the whole time.
Did you ever go into a really dark state where you didn't like it?
Only when my conscious mind was saying, you're going to be like this for the rest of your life, and you're going to have some, you're going to end up in a mental ward, right? Like, like you're going to, like,
that doesn't sound that bad.
It wasn't
compared
that
to
bad.
other things I've
No,
heard about or
exactly.
experienced.
Right?
Yeah, that's my biggest fear with psychedelics is just feeling like they're really scared, like scary, like dark experiences.
I've had my last experience on ayahuasca was very dark.
Really?
And
What
very
happened?
scary. Yeah. And so that's why I had to take a break.
Mm-hmm.
So I did 3 very large cups, and it was just the shaman and I in northern Peru. And I started getting into this place where, first of all, I started vomiting, and that was tricky, always a little bit tricky. But I started getting into the space where I met these very dark, kind of reptilian beings, and I was spinning around like crazy, and I had no sense of. There was no way for me to grasp on any kind of reality.
Oh,
I was
like that.
completely detethered
no
from
control.
reality.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was spinning around. I couldn't connect to anything. I couldn't grab onto anything. And I couldn't understand what was real and what wasn't. Or there was no reality.
Mm-hmm.
I was just spinning in space and just seeing these creatures. And the fear that came over me because I was just completely detached from any kind of reality and unable to attach to reality was terrifying. Mm-hmm. And that's actually when I screamed out. That's when I didn't even realize I was screaming out, but until the shaman actually told me until the shaman actually yelled back at me, and he's and then I kind of woke up a little bit, and I realized that there are just moments that you just go through, you just get to this experience and you realize that there's a power out there that you just have to be respectful of. Mm-hmm. And you need to pay attention, and they're there to teach you, but they're a lot stronger. It's a lot more powerful than you'll ever be. Mm-hmm. And whether that's consciousness or the universe or God or whatever you want to call it or whatever, like it's just an awakening. It's just like, pay attention, that's how I look at that. And so, it took me like a few days to kind of get through that. Yeah. That was a very terrifying kind of moment that it took me some time to kind of work through. Mm-hmm. Because when in life do you ever feel like you're completely detached from reality?
That happened to me the last time I did ayahuasca.
Really?
Yeah, it was horrible.
Wow. Tell about that.
Well, my whole body dissolved. Like I felt it dissolve into nothing. And then I went into like this hell. Like it was like fire. And it was my own hell. It was like the feeling of isolation. Wow. So I became isolation. And then I needed help and I was asking for help and no one was like helping me. And it forced me to literally ask for help over and over again because I never asked for help in my life. And then they made me leave the ceremony because I was talking so much, but I think I needed to like actually speak like all the problems I've had with my parents, all of this stuff. I was talking out loud for like 2 hours.
Really?
And I was super neurotic. Oh, yeah, wow. It was so bad.
Interesting.
I was like, and then I was jumping around and like screaming and I was just getting all this stuff out of my body that I had held inside for like years. I didn't even realize I had it.
Yeah.
So I was releasing a lot and I was talking and I was saying a bunch of crazy stuff.
But why was it crazy?
It wasn't kind of, some of it was kind of dark and it was stuff I would never say, but I was feeling about certain people. Yeah. Certain people I didn't like. I was saying it out loud. And then I was like saying I was ugly and all these things I like deep down maybe like had like certain fears about myself or like, I don't know. It was really weird.
So interesting.
Yeah.
Right? And you're probably still processing that.
Yeah, that was over a year ago.
Yeah.
But I got a lot out in that ceremony.
Yeah. And it sounds, I mean, as hard as it was, it sounds amazing.
Yeah. And then I was going into real estate before that. And then it showed me I was meant to be a healer. And it was like laughing that I was going to go into real estate. And it actually showed me, it said rite of passage, like in my ceremony, wow. The words. And then it showed me the pain of humanity. It showed me like the worst abuse, poverty, like so much darkness, like that anyone could experience that I haven't even experienced. It was showing it to me and I was screaming. It was like, it was like hell. on Earth.
So interesting.
Yeah. And then it said, that's your rite of passage. And then I didn't go into real estate. Then I started doing, because I did the healing art. I learned different healing arts when I lived in Indonesia years ago, and I never fully used it. And then it kind of showed me that I need to step into that role more.
And here you are.
Yeah, now I'm doing it.
Right.
And that's the only path that would really open up. You know,
Yeah.
I tried other things, but life was forcing me to do that. So
it's your path. You're on the right path. But
Mhm.
you know, you weren't. But you know, the plant medicine also helps you understand this, right? It helps you to figure out what to focus on.
It's true.
I mean, look, it's a lot better than being on the wrong path,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because you go spin your wheels and go do stuff that you know that you don't. You just waste your time.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah. So
it seemed a little dramatic though. That ceremony. It was hard.
Indeed, I'm sure it was.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what the plant medicines are amplifiers, like we talked about.
Yeah, it is.
That's what they do. They're there to swing that, to hit you upside the head with a club really hard.
Mm-hmm.
They get you to pay attention.
It's true.
Because it's so easy to get, you know, to have your attention diverted.
Yeah.
There's so much in our world today
Mm-hmm.
that is just attention diverting.
I agree.
And that's why these plant medicines are even more important today than ever.
Mm-hmm.
Because they show us, they're strong enough to show us the right path and to have us actually listen.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, you know, for me, I think the plant medicines are one of the, you know, they're crucial for us, for the human race to survive.
I think so too, especially right now.
For sure.
People need to wake up.
They do, right? Think of all the complexity in the universe and the world, and, you know, wars, and, you know, man's inhumanity to man, and AI, and the world is getting more and more complicated every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, to me, the only way that, you know, we're not strong enough to really deal with the complexity.
I agree. Because
we can't evolve as human beings. We can't evolve fast enough to catch up with the technology. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, we're either on a path to extinction because the technology will wipe us out, right? Yeah. Or the plant medicines will teach us the right path.
Exactly.
And so my hope comes from the fact that I really believe that the plant medicines will teach us the right path. I really believe this. Mm-hmm. And I have believed this for decades.
Yeah.
Because they have the power to do it, and they have the connection to the universe and to consciousness.
And to the earth.
And to the earth and to
The first time I did ayahuasca, I felt the spirit of the earth, and it was communicating with me, and it wanted to be protected, and it was like asking me to like recognize that.
How beautiful.
Yeah.
What an amazing experience.
Mm-hmm. It was beautiful.
I mean, think about how profound that is. I mean, you know, we know that we need to protect the planet.
Yeah.
But to actually feel it and to actually listen to her, and, you know, Pachamama. Mm-hmm. That's Pachamama.
Exactly.
Right? And to have her actually reach out and say, help me, you know, super meaningful. Mm-hmm. We have to. Plastics, you know, all these chemicals, all this stuff in our environment. We can get through it, but we have to make a choice. We have to make a choice on how to live our lives and how to connect. And plant medicines will teach us the right choice. Mm-hmm.
So what would you tell to people who are curious about plant medicine, but they're also really scared? Because I meet people often that they're like curious, but they're really scared, and like, because it can be scary. But
it can be.
What would you tell them?
You know what? I think the way to manage it is that you can dose them in very small doses, and to realize that in small doses you start to feel a little bit of an effect, and you learn a little bit. And when you're ready to do the ceremonial dose or something more serious, you need to be in the right environment. You need to be with the right group. You need to be with the right practitioner. You need to be with the right shaman. Mm-hmm. Right? You need to have the structure around it that will help you process what you're going to go through. Mm-hmm. It's very important, because these are powerful medicines.
Very powerful.
And this is why I traditionally like to do them in their own traditional, backyards.
Mm-hmm.
Ayahuasca in the Amazon jungle. Iboga in West Africa. I'm still waiting for my, ceremonial intense psilocybin journey in southern Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That's I haven't done that yet, but I would love it. At some point I will do that.
That would be cool.
Yeah. But you can microdose a lot of these things, and you can start to get a little bit of a benefit from them, but you have to take them seriously. I mean, look, I did, my first experience with psychedelics was recreational psilocybin,
Mm-hmm.
right? Doing mushrooms in college. A lot of people have that experience.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know what I was getting into. But one thing I did learn from that is, I could handle it and it wasn't too scary. And then when I was ready to go a little deeper, I was ready.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that to me is the lesson. And just realize that these plant medicines are here to heal.
Exactly.
Yeah. But I would definitely be aware of if you have, depression or other serious kind of mental issues or concerns, be aware of that. Because these plant medicines will affect your serotonin, and you have to make sure that you're not doing antidepressants, and this is why I like the shamans, because they understand these things. They know when to do them. They know how to do them. They know the right environment to do them in.
Mm-hmm. That's
why I like that. That's why I love the tradition of it.
Yeah,
I think it's really cool to be in that traditional environment. And like when I did my first ayahuasca journey, and Mother Ayahuasca brought this incredible intense rainstorm.
Yeah.
That was the environment. It was in the Amazon jungle. It was like, hey, I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
Get ready. You're about to have an amazing, crazy experience.
Mm-hmm.
Listen to me. And so that's all part of it too. You do need to take it seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So for our last question, I wanted to ask you, what is the legacy or impact you feel called to create through KANHA now?
I think it's really what we've just been talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Cannabis is a very profound plant medicine. It creates community. It heals. It helps manage pain and all kinds of other anxiety and other kinds of conditions.
Mm-hmm.
Who doesn't need that? Totally. Our whole culture needs that.
Yeah.
So for me, the fact that we can bring this, like we've been part of this bringing cannabis out to the masses bringing it in a legal way, and we're everything is tested and it's safe and it's consistent. I mean, I think that's one of the beautiful things. Like when I came in this industry, there were pesticides flooded in almost all products at terrible levels, and still some cannabis, not in the licensed market, but in the illicit market, some of it is still has a big issue with pesticides. Mm-hmm. But now you can go get clean, safe, tested, consistent product whenever you want. That's a beautiful thing, and it's fully legal. Mm-hmm. And now it's helping, millions, if not tens of millions of people. And so I think my legacy is I've enjoyed that, being part of that journey, and helping to bring it to market, knowing that our products are safe and tested and really amazing, and helping people understand how this can help them to lead better lives. Mm-hmm. Our mission is to lead people to live much better lives, whether they need healing or whether they just want to be part of a bigger, better community. But, we need that in our culture. I agree. Right. And without cannabis, without what's happened in cannabis in the last 10 to 12 years, what we're seeing in psychedelics would never be happening. Mm-hmm. The fact that, Trump is, signing to allow for Ibogaine to be
it's huge,
used for treatment. Mm-hmm. That's incredible. Yeah. It's incredible. Like, people are paying attention. They're waking up. And that's really because of Joe Rogan, to be honest.
Yeah, so, it was because of Joe Rogan.
He did push it. Thank God. Mm-hmm. And he's been paying attention to this for the last, 3 or 4 or 5 years, whatever. Mm-hmm. But for those of us that have been on this journey for decades,
Yeah.
it's so exciting to see this actually finally happening. But
Absolutely.
in my mind, it's happening because of what we're doing in cannabis.
Mhm.
And so that's the legacy. The legacy is teaching people that these plant medicines are amazing, they're healing, and they're great for society.
Mhm.
And we should make them available to whoever needs them.
I love that.
That's-
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cannabis actually helped me with an existential crisis when I was 16. I stopped believing in like God. I was like, was really angry at life, and I became atheist. And then I smoked weed, and it like opened up my connection to God again. And
Wow.
like actually really changed my life.
Really?
Yeah, I wasn't even
What a-
supposed to be doing that, but
what a beautiful story.
I know, that was my first experience with plant medicine. I didn't even
Wow.
realize until years later. But yeah.
Incredible.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that, you know what, that says it all right there, right?
Exactly.
Like, it's so easy. I mean, they're here to teach us and to show us.
Yeah.
But you have to be open to it. And maybe it doesn't happen the first time, maybe it takes a few times, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But they're here, and they've been here for millennia.
True.
Very cool. So that, and here you are on your podcast
I know.
talking about this all the time.
Yep.
You know, on this mission, you're on the right path.
Mm-hmm. I think so.
Yeah. Very exciting.
Yeah. Well, this was a great conversation. Thank you so much for coming on.
I'm very happy to be here, very happy to talk about it. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Yeah.